Hey guys, so I just tried this sweater on Jason and it turns out that it is about an inch too long. So I have to rip back it's a little too long, and he said that I need to rip back about an inch before so I can do about 2 inches of ripping. So since I have to do that, I figured I would record the process so you see the easiest way that I find to rip back that many stitches. And so it's basically like doing a modified lifeline, except for I don't actually put the lifeline in. I use my live needle to do it. You do need to make sure that you have enough room on your needle, and so I have 2 cables hooked together to do this. So basically I just start by counting down how many rows I need to rip back, and my gauge is about 22 stitches per 4 inches. So to go back an inch, I'm going to go down about 5 or 6. I'll probably do 6 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I want to start with actually this stitch right here because it was the next in line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what I'm going to do, and I'm actually going to go one below this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick up that right leg of the stitch to get it onto the needle, and then I'm going to continue to do that into each of the stitches all the way around. And what this will do is it'll put this row back on the needle, and it will take, and as I'm doing that, I can begin to slide these stitches off of the needle. Be careful not to slide these off until you know for sure that you've picked up the stitch down here. So, and you also want to make sure that you're doing this within the same row. If you go one up or one below, it'll completely mess it up and it could cause a big mess. So just make sure that you're going in line with the row that you started at. And if you're ever unsure, you can always count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I went, see, I messed up because I'm at 8. So let's try again. Let's start over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The one below. Yeah. So one thing I want to mention is what I'm doing is just every so often counting down to make sure that I'm still in line and I'm still picking up those stitches from the correct row. And I'm starting to run out of room from my cable to add more stitches. So it's time to start dropping off some of these, and all you do is you just slide them off the needle. I'm confident that they are not going to have any drop stitches because I've been picking up all these stitches down here. So if they do drop, they'll stop where the cable is. So they won't go below that line. And that just gives me more room on the cable to work with. And keep going. And this looks like a little bit of a wonky stitch right here, but it's just where I did my spit slicing to add the two balls of yarn together. So I'm just going to make sure that when I do go over this and I pick up the next stitch, that not only am I getting both pieces of yarn, but I'm also making sure to count that I am on the correct stitch. 3, 4, 5. Yep. And so at this point, I've made it to where the beginning of the round marker is. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this pseudo marker here so that I know, because what's going to happen is when I rip this out, this, when I take the cable off right here, this is going to fall out. So I want to make sure that I'm marking down here where my beginning of the row is. So I'm just going to take this progress keeper because I didn't have a stitch marker handy, and I'm going to clip it to this stitch right here just to indicate that this is the end of the round and that the next stitch is the beginning of the round. Okay, so I have officially picked up all the stitches. So now I can safely remove the rest of the live stitches from the 5 rows up. So I will just pull this, and I'll make sure to catch that stitch marker there. And then pull the rest of this out. So the key to this being successful is to just make sure you take your time and make sure that you're counting. I counted to make sure I was on the same row about every 4 to 5 stitches, and I did have to back up a few times. So just make sure that you're taking your time and keeping track of where you're at within your rows. It took me about 20 minutes to pick up 100 and some stitches. But compared to the amount of time it would have taken me to manually rip these back, or the risk of taking the needle out altogether and having drop stitches and having to pick up the stitches anyway, this is a much better option. It took me 20 minutes instead of several hours. So now that we have picked up all of our stitches, we can start frogging. Got yarn everywhere. and it'll automatically stop where it needs to. So as you can see, it stopped where this is done. So it looks like I did pick up one below here. So I'll just transfer that over to that needle. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit back around till I get to my beginning of the round, and then I will start my ribbing. Pick up where I left off.